Oh hey Alice, Merry Crisis and a Happy New Fear.
Yes. Happy. 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 I am feeling kind of happy for the new year.
I feel good.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of positivity trying to brew and grow and seed.
I've seen the buddlings of such things.
The buddlings of such things.
The budding the budding flower ready to bloom.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of overcast, but I think that is as it will be. It is currently raining. We are currently dodging.
Oh, it's a downpour.
Yeah. Currently dodging a tornado, maybe.
Or so I've been told.
So I've been told. There's a warning.
Yeah.
And it got windy.
We're dodging a warning.
Here on this New Year's Day.
That's why we're on the satellite right now. We're above all that Earth shit in more ways than one.
And just getting pelted. Pelted by debris.
Mm.
But it being the first day of 2022.
That'd be.
That'd be.
It's like 2021. So glad it's behind us. That's always a funny thing when I see that, because it's not the year.
Right. They said the same thing about 2020.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew 2021 wasn't going to be stellar.
Yeah.
So, what's the new thing gonna be?
The new thing.
There's always a thing.
Right.
Every year, you know?
Well, I mean,
What's the new thing?
Lately it's been a few things.
Yeah.
It's like every other couple weeks. There's another new thing. And
That's true. It's picking up pace. I like how politics is right above my head. It's over my head.
Yeah. And I've got aliens on my shoulder.
Yeah. And Philip's our local historian. Tell us about history.
Once upon a time, a thing happened, and then we were here.
That's not far from... Yeah.
It's true. It's facts.
Yeah.
You can look it up in any book.
Yep.
Any of them.
100% behind that full theory, which... Yeah, we hadn't had Phil at the table here in a minute.
Well, welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome back, Phil.
Thanks. It's nice to be back.
I kept your seat warm for you.
Oh, I felt it was warm. I appreciated it. I didn't know who did it, but now I know.
Yeah.
So, some things coming up in the year to come. Hopefully things are looking better for you, Alice. I feel like things are looking better for myself personally. I think a lot of people around are trying to concentrate on their health a little more. I think that's a good thing. Natural health, working out, being active, thinking about what you consume.
That is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't know. As things progressively become more of the way they are, if that makes sense. It's like seeing any kind of resistance to that is cool. It's like New Hope, in episode 4. It's like there's a new hope against the Empire, even though the Jedi
Suck.
It really doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah.
I was feeling okay about that, but then I had to Lucas it.
Lucased it. I'm a Star Wars smuggler. I smuggle Star Wars into the conversation.
Oh God.
That's usually your job.
Usually. But
you see, you hadn't been around for a while, so
The
Alex had to start trying to slide in some of these techniques.
it's like We were actually talking earlier about how the dark side and the light side is not the good side and the bad side. It's like it's a like that's what makes life and existence is a balance. So it's somewhere. Everything has to end up somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
But yeah, 2022 is going to be a big year for this particular hole and table.
How long do you think it'll take us to get to the center of this Tootsie Roll Pop?
A 1, a 2,
And then what will be inside it?
a 3. Pandora's Tootsie Pop.
Well, I don't know. I know with politics we can probably, as usual, expect more of the same.
Yeah, I think big things are guaranteed in the future, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Big things, bigger than ourselves, are expected to be coming our way.
Yeah.
And your way too, Alice. Wherever that may be.
I guess, like, count your blessings, appreciate family and everything that you have, because it's all very important, and it's not everything you have is worth fighting for, all the things we take for granted every day.
It's all fleeting, as they say. Fleeting.
So y'all think it's going to be big in a negative way?
It's going to be big one way or another. And usually things get worse before they get better. It's like when you have to like cut something out, you have to cut around it,
A lot of that stuff is it's kind of weird when they say, things get worse before they get better, because then you're like, well, how much worse can things get? And it's like, well, the worst something can get is unable to return from it,
That is the
unfixable.
worst.
So it's, I guess it's better to say, it seems like it's harder, or it seems like it's worse getting out of a bad situation because it takes so much work to get out of it. That, it just seems like it's worse, but it's a lot like health. You use health as a good example. It's easy to lay around and just eat what tastes good and not be concerned about it, and that's a philosophy a lot of people can have. Like, what does it matter? We're going to die one day anyway. But they also have, what's called like the runner's high, when you start to exercise and you start to force that adrenaline and force the pumping of the blood, you get the desire to do so. And a lot of things are really just how you set yourself up. Like sugar, they say processed sugar is we don't naturally crave it. And if you put yourself in a ketosis, you'll stop craving it, and then you just won't want it, but I've yet to do that, so.
It's like people get it, like if you think about like self-mutilation, I guess, like whipping, whatever they call that, like penance, what is that? Catholic shit.
I think penance.
Penance. It's like, I think you can get addicted to anything that you repeat enough times.
Yeah.
Like whether it's good for you or not, like you get addicted to it through repetition. It becomes a habit. Maybe that's a better word for it.
Yeah.
And so that can be for negative things too. Yeah, I don't know if that would really be an addiction or just like a harmful repetition. Like a pattern. But
yeah, like what makes something an addiction versus a pattern? Like, because it can look the same.
like is one addicted to a bad habit?
Well,
Or is it, that kind of defeats it being a habit?
what they consider addiction, a physical addiction, means your body has recognized it as essential to live. That's why they say heroin, nicotine, alcohol, caffeine. These things can actually detriment your body when you try to come off of them, or if you get yourself to a point where you're on them and then you stop. It actually is not just a mental thing, where most addictions, mental addictions, they can break you down. You can feel like hell, but there's not as much of an actual health risk. People that are really hard on heroin can't just stop taking it because their body will start to shut down and it can kill them. So they have to bring them off of them. They have to detox and wean them off of them. Whereas people on cocaine, just getting off of it,
you can just stop.
You can stop. It's not going to shut you down. Now, that's not to say you might not have crazy adverse reactions that if you got other health issues or, might cause a problem. But as what's determined, your body is not recognizes substance as something that it now needs to live.
So yeah, habit's something else.
Right. Habit just means habitual. It means day to day.
I was just saying like that, flagellation, that's the word.
Yeah. Right.
Like stuff like that, or like cutting, it's not good for you and you don't necessarily enjoy it, but if you do it enough times it becomes a habit. It's like something you do repetitiously.
Right.
It's like, doesn't have to be something good, doesn't even have to be something you enjoy.
Well, that's where we get ritual from.
Right.
And that's what religion really means, is something you do as a day-to-day practice that's pretty much outside of the needs of survival. Animals don't practice religion. They're very efficient.
That's a good point. We can force ourselves to repetitiously do things we don't enjoy for a multitude of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And or something that isn't even necessarily necessary for survival, or even detriment. It might even be detrimental to survival, but we have the capability of doing that.
Right.
And animals don't.
Right.
Or if they do, they haven't chosen to.
Well, that's what domestication is. They do heroin tests with rats, and they give them 2 bars to press, and you train a rat to press a bar for food, and then they'd have basically an IV run into them, and they had another bar they could press for heroin or morphine. I'm not sure exactly. It was probably a type of morphine. And they taught it, how to eat, and it would eat, and it would eat whenever it's hungry. And then they gave it morphine, and it felt the effects. It went to sleep, it gets up, it eats, and gets more morphine. And then it started, the way morphine and heroin and all those things affect you is your body starts to build a tolerance to it, so you actually need more. Well, heroin's dangerous on the level of people ODing, because if it's being cut on the street, the strength level is unknown. So if somebody's detoxed for a minute, they try to get off and then they relapse, they might pick it up somewhere and it's stronger than what they were normally used to. So they do what they think is a safe amount, but their body reacts to it harder and it kills them, And they technically overdose. But when you when the rats would end up getting to a point to where they would just go hit the heroin button. They'd hit it enough times until it would knock them out. And then they'd get up and they might eat after a little while, but it would only be a little bit. And they'd go back to the heroin, and eventually they'd stop eating altogether, and they would just wake up and they'd hit the morphine or the heroin button over and over until they would knock them out. And they would eventually hit it enough times to shut their system down and die. They'd eventually hit it that one last time that their system couldn't handle that amount, and it put them, And the idea is that is what a living being, an organism, that's an addiction. That's what an organism will do, Just like survival. It thinks that is my survival now.
I've heard this rhetoric from a couple of different people about different medications, but they're like, well, it just makes me feel correct, like I ought to, and that scares me, because it's like That's a dangerous way to think.
Right. Well, because you're looking at, well, who's regulating that? Who's telling you that you're incorrect, and who's telling
Mhm.
you what is correct? You know, because you might be incorrect, but somebody might be incorrect in what they're trying to do to you.
Right.
I mean, take that out of the medical and world and the world of drugs, and look in the world of, look at politics. That's in essence how you control the populace with politics. You let everybody know, this is what you need, and this is what is dangerous. And if you convince them and you convince enough people, then it's just the day to day. So people grow up, believing. That's why I talk about like racism, like way back in the day. Well, that's just how they grew up, and there's something to be said about that, because if you're raised to being taught something, it's really hard to, you can be questioning it, and even your own moral stance might be like, this doesn't seem right to me, but if you bring it up and get told to shut the hell up by everybody around you, then, or you're told you're wrong, that's incorrect, then it's hard to, that happens enough times, eventually they're going to give in, or they're going to break away, and if the whole society is that way, there's nowhere to break away to, and so, that's just one example of how that works with a social thing. Is it's they that's what I always said about government. It forces you to believe it needs it. And the problem with the society now is it forces us to have to lie. Forces us in circumstances where we have to lie to each other about things.
Yeah. There's a lot of hypocrisy, because I really can't stand it when people talk about how much they hate law enforcement, but then advocate for stricter regulations and laws.
Right.
More authority. But you want to defund the police. But you want more authority. And that's... I wish people would think through their arguments, And I think a lot of people do. It's like the media only shows you a small sliver of people. And it's people that they have, like, fit their narrative.
Yep.
Whatever that narrative might be. And that's not how people really are, though. I think most people are pretty rational. I think the amount of brainwashed people is a lot smaller than they would want us to think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people that know what's going on in the world. To some, more so than they would like people to think. Or they would like there to be.
Yeah. A real good example, and I think that's what Stone was trying to make the point of. If you ever seen Natural Born Killers with Woody Harrelson, and
I haven't seen that.
yeah, you never saw Natural Born Killers?
I don't think so.
Quite a cast in that movie. Tommy Lee Jones is in it.
I'm gonna check that out.
A lot of people. But anyway, Natural Born Killers. Mickey and Mallory are like running around just absolute terrors. Just flat out killing people, robbing people, just being like the Bonnie and Clyde of that modern day time. And they end up being heroes in the eyes of the public. They get an interview with Mickey, when they finally get caught and he's in prison, and it's all about getting this interview with him, and but there's a scene in there where they go around and they're showing a part of the film like it's what you're seeing on television, like this upcoming show, and it's going around talking to like kids, and it looks like it reminded me when it came out of like Lollapalooza or something. It was like some festival or something where they're talking to a bunch of these kids are like, yeah, and they're asking one dude, and everybody thinks that Mickey and Mallory are just the coolest thing, and they're literally running around just committing homicide left and right, just brutal murder left and right. But everybody's just so gassed up about them because they're like rock stars, and it's so glamorized, and it's like you're saying, it's like you're seeing these complete dolts, you know, they're like this kid just, you know, yeah, if I was a, he says something like, if I was a killer, I'd want to be like Mickey, you know, and it's like, if I was a, you know, if I robbed a bank, I'd want to, you know, and it's like, what are you talking about, dude, you know, and it's, most people don't think that way, so that's not interesting to put on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not going to glamorize it. They put a bunch of people on there going, what are they doing? This is horrible. What are they doing? It's like they do a lot of times. Oh my God, it was so horrible what they did, and then you find out that there was no they, or they didn't do anything, or there was a wrong they.
It's like,
you know.
and if well, here's another one I don't understand. It's like, oh, well, you don't believe the narrative? Well, you're this. You're put in the blank. Why the fuck would I believe anything that the powers that be have to tell us?
Well,
What, I haven't heard any good argument for
I believe that
for
that's
that.
I believe that's the definition of bigotry. You don't think the way I do, therefore you're this.
Mm-hmm.
This is how things are as far as I'm concerned, period. If you don't think this way, you're incorrect, period. That's end of discussion. That's what bigotry is.
I just,
as far as I could be getting my terms mixed up, but I'm pretty certain that's what it is.
I think you're right about that.
It doesn't. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's hard for me to understand because it's like how. No, don't look into it. You should just believe it. You're a faith. You're acting on faith.
Right.
It's like you don't have a conversation with politics with me if you like, you know. It's like if you're just a religious nut, if you just believe things on faith, like your evidence is that you just support it, and you do. That's like your sports team. I don't have any more faith in your fucking sports team just because you think they're gonna win. Tell me about it. Tell me why you think that.
Right. At least with a sports team, you can give me a track record that looks like something, you know.
Yeah, some
You'd
sort
be
of way to
they've
base.
beaten. They haven't been beaten
you know.
yet.
Yeah, and that's it. There you go. That's an answer.
But in the world of politics, you can't give me that.
Mm-mm.
You can't give me anybody that hasn't been beaten
You
yet.
just give me emotion. Just give me no. I feel this way.
There was no logical reason to trust a politician ever.
Exactly.
No logical one. It's
I have
all
plenty of
emotion,
reason to not
like,
trust
the
media and the
yeah.
government. Plenty of good reasons that we could sign off and make this a whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
But I can't hear any good reasons for why I should believe the narrative that the media and the government gives us.
The government,
But it's like a given that we should.
The government holds a monopoly on power. That's the bottom line. They hold the monopoly on power and force and violence.
Mm.
You know, rules for thee, not for me. That's how it works when it comes to them, you know. You're not allowed to commit violence upon someone unless these certain conditions are met in a certain area, right? What they want you to do is call someone else. They want you to call the state to come and commit the violence.
Mm.
And by violence doesn't necessarily mean being shot or beat up. It means being detained.
Putting someone in a cage.
It means having money stolen from you. Being put through psychological abuse, basically, when you cause somebody that kind of stress, you know.
I mean, you're literally taking, if it's a money, like, if they take your money, that's taking food out of your children's mouths. That's violence.
Right.
That is violence.
Right.
There's no other way to look at that.
Drawing a weapon down on you, especially the key thing about guns is it's such a game changer on the level of the sword, because you know the sword was a brandished thing. You drew your sword, and then it was you had to actually attack to attack. You could draw the sword in a threat. Drawing a gun is much more direct of a threat in the sense that you don't have to make any more forward movement. You don't have to actually commence to attack. You just have to now pull the trigger. And also, your sword isn't going to accidentally jump out of your hand and stab somebody, whereas a gun can go off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it's a whole different level of things when you're dealing with firearms. So the idea is when a gun is pointed at someone, regardless if it's loaded or safety's on, it's always considered to be hot and ready to go, and always considered to be your life in front of your face. Anytime you see the business end of a gun barrel, or you feel it at the back of your head, and I can tell you that by fucking experience, it is a real stress. It is a real PTSD moment, or causing type of moment. You truly do put somebody through stress, you know. That's why I'm so highly against law enforcement the way they do. I understand things are dangerous, but when you draw down on someone, you've taken it to a level you're not going to return from. And that's just how that is. When you see the end of somebody's gun barrel pointed at you, you know, unless it's an utter mistake and they don't shoot you and it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was you, you know.
When they're doing it with intention.
When they're doing it with intention, you know, they didn't, oh, I realized it was you, this is a mistake, I'm going to lower the weapon immediately, then, yeah, now you're looking at someone who has what, on the tundra, is the intent to take your life. It's not somebody standing there with a sword drawn, it's somebody standing there with a sword at your throat. It is literally, the blade is touching the hairs on your neck.
It's like nuclear deterrent too, right?
Right.
And it's just expanded out.
Right.
Everyone's on the business end of a barrel.
Right.
Your whole country, your whole everything.
Yeah, existence. At the tip of a few buttons. Or, you know, keys that have to be turned or whatever protocol.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Should it be that easy?
Well,
to end life like that?
Well,
should it be?
Nobody thinks
like,
it should, but
should
just like the gun.
I mean, like...
lots of people don't think so. Even the guys who invented that shit didn't think so. That's not what they're inventing it for. You know?
With the existence of it, though, we've done what we can. If it exists, everyone has to have it.
Right. Well, it's the thing is...
That way no one uses it.
Well, it's just like guns. You know, I'm not a gun fanatic. I like shooting a gun. I mean, it's not a huge thing to me.
It's not a necessity, though.
Right, and I appreciate them as... Being an engineer, I appreciate the mechanics of them and what's going on there.
It's a horrible thing to need.
Right, you know, as a weapon, I think, yeah, it's a pretty amazing invention.
Everyone ought to have it because everyone needs
right.
it. Everybody.
But I know that there's no way to get them
except the people that
right.
Can't carry one.
We know how to make gunpowder, and we know how to make it explode. And anybody from that point can make a projectile that fires like a firearm. So we're pretty much stuck with that. It's not so much the gun, it's the gunpowder. It's the invention of the explosion, which is yet another harnessing of pure energy that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to the question of how much of this knowledge should man really have, or how much are we really taking advantage of?
It's like knowledge without wisdom. It's like it just leads to destruction.
Mm-hmm. That's why the children run around like nuts and the adults say, calm down.
It's also why the government withholds all this shit.
Right.
The problem is thinking that they have that authority. It's like your parents do have that authority over you.
Right.
They do.
Why?
Because they could not feed you.
Because on the tundra,
the kid could go outside and find some other way to feed itself.
Then they don't have that authority anymore.
At what age is a child automatically able to go?
At the age that they are able to let themselves out.
How do they learn how to do that?
Well, yeah, I guess
You
they would be just kept in captivity,
Right.
and they would starve until then.
I guess that's. Yeah, I guess the government
Even
does.
if they got out, they'd be.
And now
they
that
have
I think
no
about
protection.
it, the government absolutely has the authority to tell us how to be and how to think and how to live because they hold all the power.
They hold a monopoly on violence.
They are the strict parents.
They're
What are you
the-
going to do?
Yeah, they're
What
the
are you
only
gonna do?
ones allowed to whoop your ass.
If you try to leave,
I mean,
where the fuck are you going to go? Your parents are everywhere.
Right,
They're
right.
everywhere,
You just-
and they have
you just
they have
go on the street.
tattletales in the walls.
it's like being a child because it's no matter what home you go. It's like being a child in the foster system. You're just going to go from abusive home to abusive home.
Right.
Like nowhere is
And
going to
if
be
you find
safe.
a little place off the grid to hide out,
Oh, they're
they'll
coming.
gas you and burn your house down
Mm-hmm.
with you in it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Parents are mean.
I get told that often. It's nice to be reminded
Mm-hmm. By an adult.
by a small adult.
I think he just called you a man-child.
I don't think he was talking about me.
No.
Small adult. That's what children are, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, they think.
And then adults are just big children.
Yeah. Trying to revert back.
It's like it's nice meeting. I mean, when you meet old people, it's like usually one of two things, right? It's like they've either got it all figured out and they're not going to hear shit from you, or they're smart enough to realize that they have so much learning to do. That they have, like, they want to learn from you. It's like I guess that's what being a grandparent is, right? Same thing with being a parent.
Well, there's also, getting to have little ones run around that love you to death, and you don't have quite as much responsibility
Right.
because you can be like,
It
going back to mama and daddy.
that sounds really cool. If only there was a way to
You
skip
get to
being a
laugh
parent.
at your kids
And
for,
just be a
become
grandparent.
you get to laugh at your kids for what they put you through while they go through it.
Revenge. That's
Yeah.
what being a grandparent is.
It's like, ha, now you have to suffer like I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So but I mean, it's
It was random. I was thinking earlier, I was telling Philip this, but I think and maybe it'd be worth looking up at some point, but I think to me the definition of justice is something akin to like judgment in motion. It's like judgment in action.
I would think it'd be more the outcome.
Yeah.
Justice is the outcome of judgment.
Well, a certain outcome because
Maybe that makes more sense.
You're using,
not every
you're using judgment to serve justice. But I mean, then once again, you get semantic.
Yeah.
You got to look the definition up, and then
Mm.
it's probably much like the way English is. The definitions are slightly more stoic or stern than we use in common language.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like precise meanings to things. We just lost them.
There's a lot of words that we just don't use.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of words that we could pull up, and they're so foreign to everybody that it just sounds like you're trying to be smart.
And then there's
Somebody's going to be like, what does that mean? So then you got to say it however.
Everything is, oh shit, oh fuck, man, oh shit.
Right. We have the
Oh,
same.
fuck,
It's like
bro.
the thing.
And it's like something bad happens. Oh fuck, bro. And something good happens. Oh fuck, bro.
Yeah, I think fuck is the greatest word in the English language because of its versatility. you can use it in the middle of other sentences or in other words. In
Yeah,
the middle of other words.
Shit's really good
like,
too. Like, man, that's shit. Or, man, that's the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Language is cool because of its flaws, you know? Because you can't say what you want to do exactly perfectly right. You have to figure it out. It's like a puzzle.
Right.
That's what.
Well,
It's like a
sometimes,
game.
well, sometimes, yeah. Sometimes the idea will get across to some people, but not others.
Mhm.
depending
on the language you're speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we speaking the same language?
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. And then some people just ain't interested in what you got to say.
What about you, Alice? You speaking our language? Picking up what I'm putting down? Satan's plain English. I'm just speaking Satan's plain English.
English is considered to be one of the hardest languages to master because it's so ever evolving.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It's so area based. People
Well,
talk so
dialect.
differently.
Well, there's so much different in dialect, and then you get into certain terminology, like you're saying, where there's different slang in so many different areas,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then you have stuff being introduced left and right, you know.
Mm. Like, for example, I was talking to my friend that's down here from Baltimore, and he was like, when a bowl is cleared here, it's cashed. It's Johnny cashed.
Johnny Cash.
But up there, it's death. It's dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's death, bro. It's done.
And both are correct.
Mhm.
And that's weird about it.
Mm.
Like, that's what's weird.
Slang is super interesting, like the way stuff like that forms. It like gives you insight into how language forms, because it is new language.
Well, I've never heard cashed as being Johnny Cashed.
Now, that's just something I say. I've never heard that either.
Let's say, because we've been saying cash since before that man passed.
Before he was cashed.
Before he was done. Yep, and that's one of the terms I always wondered about. I never really asked anybody because, I mean, nobody really knows. I mean, everybody's going to tell you something.
I've always heard it. I don't know what it means.
But yeah, it's cashed out, man.
I just say
Your
it's
check's
out.
been cashed.
We're just assuming.
It's out.
You-
Yeah,
we're-
it's out.
Yeah.
Mm.
What would be the proper way of
Cleared.
the bowl? Well, no, because cleared, normally there's still stuff in it. So
See, that's the thing
It's
is,
been cleared.
there is
I see
no
what you mean.
smokable
Yeah, that's something different.
product.
it's spent.
Spent. Mhm.
It's spent.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It has been spent. But in proper respect to the Kali, it should there's no term for it because it should never be.
Okay, that's
No
fair.
such
We don't
thing.
have a
That-
term.
Those words mean nothing to me.
What does it mean when it's out? I don't have a word for that because it's been so
What?
long since it's been out.
The flame never dies out.
It doesn't go out.
I can see that. That is interesting. That's another interesting thing about language is like not having words for certain things. Like they just don't have a word for it. Like so that just that thought doesn't even like it doesn't convey itself the same way.
Have we talked about North Korea much?
No.
They don't have words for like I, like individual. It's always we. So you can imagine
Really?
how like that would affect your thinking. They don't have words for freedom or human rights. They don't know that they're living in a cage. They don't
Like I
know
was talking
that.
about before, if you're raised that way, you don't know anything different. So how you gonna know anything different?
I could show you. There's this this woman that defected, and she went on like a
And she's got a channel now.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her own channel. She wrote several books. She's done like the circuit talking, and like a big thing she always talks about is like when she escaped, she didn't realize she was escaping. She went towards lights and was just looking for food. It's like she didn't have a concept of escape because she didn't know she was running from something. It's like they thought they were living in a good place. And then she gets out into the world, and she gets in China, then South Korea, then Canada, then America, and progressively, like, I mean, she's like in school, you know, she's going to school. I think it's British Columbia. It's like University of British Columbia.
I can't remember.
And she's talking about how she's terrified because she feels like the world is headed, like the whole world's going to be like that. It's like, and then there will be nowhere to go to. The whole world, because like I think it, and this is just me, I think it has something to do with like the erosion. It's not my idea. I'm just saying I didn't get this from watching her stuff, but I think it has to do with the erosion of history. It's like if you can convince people that if you can write the history, then you can set up the narrative to always be like it's like, so we know certain things haven't worked because they've been tried before. Mm-hmm. But if you convince people that it's never been tried before, if you erase that, then you can keep them at the same starting point forever. You know? Mm-hmm. And like so that, I mean, that's how we learn anything, is like you learn how to ride a bike from like, okay, well, last time I tried this I fell over. So it's
right.
Maybe that's not a good example, but
I think they keep finding ways of disguising what has already been done, and I think that's really where the issue lies. Is like we're not looking at it and going, "Wait, we've already done this before." Like something they change just enough about it, or something, or keep us blinded in some way just enough to miss the fact that we've already done it. Yeah. And we just keep doing it over and over again. And, like, that's a difficult cycle to break, especially since it's been so ingrained. And it's like, how do you go about it? And what is the right answer? You know, because if you topple something, you have to replace it with something.
Yep.
There has to be...
We then reject the system and put another in its place. But maybe that's what this year should be about. Breaking those stagnant systems that we put ourselves into.
And I think the big thing is people coming together. Because the biggest thing...
Well, we've kind of been in a stagnant system of not coming together.
Separation.
Yeah.
Confinement. Prison.
And oddly enough, it's not even an individualism thing that you would think should come out of such of a thing. I think people need to come together to be more individual. You know, to recognize more individualism, you need to see more individual.
It's really easy to think that like once you start seeing things different on your own, like, you know, as you get older, Alice, you see things differently. And when that starts to happen, it can be really easy to think that you're the only one that sees it that way. Because that's what you're shown, is that everyone on TV thinks this way. Right. And everyone on the news thinks this way. And everyone on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram thinks this way. And it's like, that's not actually how it is, though. That's what you're shown. To make you feel that way, to make you feel alone and like no one else feels the way you do.
Well, to make you feel like that's the product you
like
need
there's
to
something
keep
wrong
buying.
with you for feeling that way.
If I tell you how things are and you believe that, then I tell you that these are the products you need to buy. That's what you're going to buy. And that's what it's always been. You know, and by products it could be the type of soft drink all the way to the way you vote. All the way to, you know, your religious belief.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how you put your shoes on every day. It can all be based around what you are taught and what you allow to teach you, and what you allow yourself to be affected by. And the more you lack being individual and having independent thought, the more easily susceptible you are to being controlled.
Yeah.
And that's the key point in any business, making money. And if in this market to make money means to maintain control, well, that's what it does. Keep you thinking about my product, Alice, all day, every day. If I made donuts, I'd want you to eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And wear our merch.
Yep. By the way, we got some merch going to be coming out. And,
yeah, buy that.
Buy that from us.
You know.
People will recognize that you're an individual thinker.
When you collectively buy all
of our merch, then you can back up your statements of individualism by seeing other people that are just as individual as you sporting Rhetoric rabbit hole attire.
Maybe we'll get some different designs to make it not so uniform. Although a uniform would be nice. You look good in a uniform, don't you, Alice?
They're all just jumpsuits. Same color.
Yeah.
With 2 R's just
That's pretty swag.
right on the left chest.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, it looks like Philip's going to be stepping into our design
fashion
department.
Designer.
That was a dream of mine as a kid, was to be a fashion designer.
I mean, you can help design too, Alice, if you just send us your thoughts and perspectives on what you'd want. We can make it custom.
I mean, everything's negotiable. That's the policy I like to try to live by. Helps with tolerance. Helps with being open-minded.
Yeah, anything's possible if you believe.
I don't know if that's what I was saying.
No, I'm saying anything can happen. If you, well, it's not just belief. It's,
I mean, I think that anything can happen, and then believe in some stuff, and it's going to be a better shot it's going to happen, are separate things. I don't think there's an if in there. Things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And almost anything can happen.
And that's what we're saying. 22, things are going to happen.
Yeah. Big things that are above our ability to control.
Yeah.
We can assure you, Alice. If we could control them, we absolutely would. But
you know, the Queen's got her.
We can't. Yeah.
She needs her roses painted.
Mm-hmm. So we'll just
we'll be here at the tea party.
Yeah.
We'll be here at the tea party, talking shit about the Queen mostly. in a way that, because I think some of the cards watch, so you gotta kind of like.
Yeah. Well.
We don't try to address them, you know, as explicitly as we could. Except now.
Expressly.
Except right now.
Because it's New Year's.
Right.
As if you weren't picking up on that. You know.
Well, so.
What are we going to do if the Queen watches?
I don't think she's going to bother.
Nah.
It's a pretty good position to be in.
We're on the D-Low.
Yeah, you know.
Unless I keep messing it up.
Well, you know. I mean, Alice can always help us out with that by spreading the word. Don't tell anybody about the show, Alice. It's not the cool thing to do.
Don't do it. Oh.
So if you do buy a shirt or anything like that from us. You might turn it inside out so people don't actually see that you're advertising for us.
You wouldn't want the Queen to cut your head off.
Just remember, it's okay to paint the roses red. Just don't tell anybody that you're doing it. And definitely don't tell them what color it was before you painted them.
Yeah.
That's really it. Well, it's been a pretty slow and relatively eventless New Year's to this point. It sounds like there's no tornado happening. I think I'm going to check my updates before I get ready to put on a spacesuit and climb out and start working on the side of this thing, like I have to do a few nights a week. Somebody's got to keep the satellite in orbit, Alice.
There's so many corpses floating around in orbit out here, and they're frozen, and they keep banging into the ship.
I know. It's, it can kind of throw you off when you're trying to, like write music.
It turns out this is where all the bodies are. All of them. Name it.
Nobody ever looked up.
Yeah.
I understand stuff will float in orbit when it's small enough on its own for a long time, especially in the tail of, other things. So, who knew?
I really, is cool. I mean, as dangerous it is kind of cool seeing like frozen, like an entire frozen person go barreling by at 70 miles per hour and just destroy satellite. As long as it's not our satellite.
Yeah, as long as it's not the one we're on.
It is cool to see.
I think, yeah.
You have to remain in the wake of another object that we won't discuss. We haven't looked out the window and saw us yet.
Cloaking device. The bodies are actually weapons.
Yeah, they're just missiles.
Well,
shot at us.
But this is a pretty big satellite. As Alice may or may not be aware, there's other entities that roam around here doing other things, and I have to maintain it as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's not the only forest creatures I have to deal with around here. But hey, that's how we keep the satellite up. That's how we keep it up.
It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, Captain. It's something like, what do you call it? Centrifugal force. It's like constantly in motion, so it keeps it in the air.
Constant emotion keeps it in motion.
It's like, there's no such thing as standing still, you're falling.
But it could be loco motion.
That sounds crazy.
That does sound crazy.
See.
Craziness in action.
Well, I need to look at the radar.
Orbit is attraction. Look at the radar.
See if it's safe for me to...
Can we go back down to Earth?
I'm going to have to climb out and do some adjustments on the side before I can beam anybody back down. But it looks like the weather down there in Music City may have calmed down. Didn't get any fortunately we didn't get any alerts announcing anything. I didn't hear anything come up. A weather warning. Well, we have a flood watch down there in Music City.
Governor Bill Lee, why do you keep using your weather machine to send us tornadoes? that you got from Bill Gates. Why have you done this? Thanks, Obama.
Why are you hating on tornadoes, bro?
Because it's the government did it.
Look, it's not even a tornado.
Wait,
Why are you hating on thunderstorms?
hold on
bro?
a second.
Why are you just going to assume that this
That's
is
how
a
you-
tornado when
that's-
it's flood?
That's how you know you aren't.
Everybody knows that
You
when the
aren't- you
rain
aren't
stops,
Nashville.
that's when it's dangerous.
Hmm.
It's alright. It's okay, Alice. Don't worry.
Everyone in Nashville hates tornadoes. You ought to.
Well,
like-
it looks to me like
We've done enough to this city.
things are.
Hey, remember when someone stole that, or not stole, but blew up that building, and then no one talked about it again? That happened.
yeah.
That happened in 2021, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that too?
Yeah, it was
I
about a
wasn't here
year,
for it,
and
but I heard about it.
He announced there was like a warning that went off. It was like, this is gonna blow up for like 10 minutes, and there was plenty of time for everyone to evacuate, and then a building blew up.
yeah, it was like about a year and 7 days ago.
Really?
Yeah, something like that. It was Christmas morning.
It was Christmas morning.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But that's
People only talked about that for like a second.
For
Yeah.
real. I only heard about it for a minute.
well, you know.
Even around here, like I don't. That was weird.
Well, you know, it's not a conversation that we worry about on a satellite here,
Where there are no buildings.
where there are no buildings.
Hmm.
Just looking down at the sky in Music City, coming from the south, it looks like things might get nasty again here real soon on this New Year's Day. But by the time this transmits to y'all, it should be all over with.
Yeah, there's all that weird time stuff in space, you know.
Right. Well,
Well,
it's been real,
it's
and it's
Stay-
been fun.
yeah. Looking forward to seeing you again soon, Alice. Stay safe. Keep your head down until you get here, then you can be a bobblehead. This is a safe space, Alice.
Well, it's a space.
It's yeah. Well, safe is relative, but it is space. That's
Safe is
for
a
sure.
relative term. But anyway, lots of good things coming this year, Alice. We'll keep sending down the positive groove.
Yeah, we're gonna beam up some cool people here soon for you to hang out with and meet. You know, maybe just when they're not expecting it, just like beam them up without warning. Some people call that alien abduction,
Right.
but I call it a good time. See you later, Alice. Till next time.